Hey everybody, it's CALLOUS back with more CALLOUS Invitational 6 content. This is lower bracket action, so it is an elimination match here in round 2. One of these guys is going to be out with an 0-2 record. Not where you want to be, but 1/4 of the field does that every year. Just how the tournament works. So it is Mikmer, who had a top 8 finish last year. Certainly would not want to follow that up with an 0-2 exit. And then we have Conflict, who has only played CI main event once and did go 0-2 in CALLOUS Invitational 3, but that was years ago. Doesn't mean anything as far as how he's going to do now. He would like to obviously improve on that performance, and he has an opportunity to do that here by eliminating Mikmer rather than getting eliminated himself. And that's pretty much all you need to know. This happened at 4 a.m., unfortunately. So, no way. 23, 24, 25-year-old Callis may have stayed up and live narrated that, but soon to be 33-year-old Callis, this old man is not up at 4 a.m. anymore, or 3 a.m., or usually even 2 a.m., and yeah, wasn't able to live narrate it. So hopefully these replays will suffice. Haven't seen any of the games, don't know the outcome, looking forward to it. Here's game 1 in the best of 3. So, Mikmer's on the bottom, Conflict's on the top, and they both lead T-Tar, the most common lead in the game. Conflict was trying to bait Brick Break, EQ, whatever it is, goes for counter there, but that's not what happens. Mikmer makes a very standard play in going to Skarm, which is really common in the Tower v Tower matchup. He finds himself a Magneton, gets bolted for a ton, but it doesn't kill him, so Mikmer does have his Skarm in the back still after one lair. Ice Beam there would have killed a Skarm. It's also a great neutral ground play because it can just freeze stuff, but it doesn't do that, and even if it had, it would have been a natural cure poke anyway, as it turns out, in Celebi. And it's HP Grass rather than HP Fire, so Mikmer now knows that the opposing Celebi is no threat whatsoever to his Celebi. And he follows that up with a Leech Seed that does actual nothing, so yeah, not a lot of progress here, but Conflict, I guess, just doesn't want to switch. He's going to have to soon, though, because Perish Song came down, and that should immediately scare him away. You don't want to get cute with that. You don't want to accidentally let a Dugtrio sneak in or something with Mean Look or whatever. You get out of the way immediately most of the time, and that's what he does here. T-Tar is going to Pursuit the Celebi on the way out, but not before getting Leech Seeded. And now Moltres comes in for Mikmer. 5 Mons revealed, and he's shown no rock resist whatsoever, so the last poke has to be a rock resist in the back. There's also no spinner, so it could just be a Claydol, but he's got 3 electric weaknesses and no rock resist, so you would think there's a ground type in the back. Could be Donphan, I guess, but probably just Claydol. Here comes P2 from Conflict, which I guess makes sense. I would like, I think, a 4th Doug vulnerable poke if you're going the P2 route, but 3 I suppose will suffice. He does have T-Tar, Magneton, and Celebi that all get eaten by Dugtrio, so suppose that'll work. Gets a Toxic off on Coon, and recovers on the Roar turn, so good sequence for Conflict. Tar we know to be at least partially special, probably the whole way. And now he's going to show Protect, so that basically reveals the whole set. It's just going to be last move Crunch, right? I mean, usually Special Tar carries fire moves, Flamethrower, whatever. But in this case, with the Magneton pairing, which is trapping the Skarm, which is one of the main things that you would want a fire attack for, I guess it's going with Protect and Counter instead. It thinks it doesn't need the fire move. Here's Magneton. That's a Whiff Thunderbolt. I don't blame him for going for that there. He had shown nothing up to that point that wanted to switch in. So by going for Thunderbolt there, a lot of the time you are forcing him to reveal that last poke. So now Conflict knows full information for both. No knockouts yet, but both players now know all 6 Mons of the other. It is just the Claydol I was envisioning rather than the less common and less viable Donphan. Focus Punch from Swampert, unfortunately for him, is the wrong prediction. Had he gone for Ice Beam there, would have done more to the Celebi and put it in danger. But now Mikmer makes a nice aggressive play, goes for HP Grass on the way in and gets T-Tower rather than going for the more obvious recover. And that is going to lead to the first knockout of the game when he follows up with HP Grass again. Mence here, as you saw, got burnt earlier by the Moltres, so that's unfortunate for it. Well, just kidding. He just refreshes it away. Uncommon set there, the refresh Salamence, but the right set in this situation gets Conflict a little bit more in it. And really awkwardly, both lead T-Tars head counter. You don't see that very often, but neither one is able to actually do anything with it thus far. And Mikmer now expanding on his lead, making it 6-4. So Mence comes in with the Intimidate. That part doesn't matter. What does matter is that he's faster and follows up. He's no longer burnt, so that hidden power is going to do it, no problem. Critical hit there didn't matter, 22%, doll down, and crucially, the only electric immunity and the only rock resist as well is down for Mikmer. So if it is a rock slide Mence, which I don't know because you have to give up something to have that refresh, there's not really a great switch into rock attacks anymore. Fortunately for him, obviously Celebi, Porygon 2, and I mean Swampert does learn Rock Slide, but none of those three things are going to have Rock Attack, so this particular matchup, he's not going to get too punished for it. It's not a Rock Spam team or anything super close to that from Conflict. So we've got ourselves a close one. It was 6-4 for Mikmer, but it's been evened up at 4 pop. There is that one layer down that Mikmer got early on that Conflict we now know is not able to remove, so that's going to be there for the rest of the game. He's not going to be able to add to that, though, since Skyrim is down as well. Leech Seed missing on Moltres here, annoying for Conflict, but it's going to happen sometimes. Flamethrower and now Leech Seed, but it's not going to save him because before the Leech Seed healing, the sand happens and down goes the B. So it is DD. The question is, what move is he choosing not to run? He's got Refresh, HP Flying, DD, so the last move can only be one of Rock Slide, Earthquake, or Brick Break, and it's probably not Rock Slide, given what that coverage would look like. Brick Break or Earthquake just make more sense in this case. Mence does get back in on the Celebi and goes for a nice 52% stab HP Flying. We'll see if the fact that he's faster and can do that again scares the bee off here despite the Leech Seed. P2 comes in. Wow, no, Mikmer stays in and clicks for cover. That takes balls for sure. Had Conflict just clicked HP Flying, Celebi gets deleted there. So Mikmer had some courage to make that play, but he's going to get rewarded for it. Celebi nice and healthy now, and the only punishment is a Toxic, though he did miss another Leech Seed there. So we connected the previous time, and now he gets Ice Beamed. And he's going to Natural Cure himself away. He's at 52% for next time. Ice Beam there, obviously not going to do anything to Coon, but it is still asleep, and there could be an electric attack coming. And there is not. He goes back to the Mence that we know is DD, and there's absolutely no reason to believe that this Coon has an ice attack. It is obviously going to be Surf or Hydro as the last move, almost certainly Surf. So Coon knows that he's safe here. He's going to DD up. And it's a 30% hidden power. So that's a bulky Coon, obviously, if +1 hidden power is only doing 30%. And indeed, he roars him away before this gets too out of hand. Now he's going to Calm Mind. Swampert fishes for an Ice Beam Freeze. That does not come. And it's Calm Mind number 2 now, which is going to be met with an Earthquake. There was an opportunity there to crit and kill the Coon, but that didn't come. Going to go for Focus Punch, thinking that the Coon is going to sleep. That turns out to be correct. And the Focus Punch just 24%, very comparable to Earthquake. We know it's not Sleep Talk Coon, so he's free to stay in here and fish for a crit a couple times. This time it's a 23% Focus Punch. Here we go yet again. And 23% again is the magic number. So Coon got to be a little nervous here that Earthquake plus Sand would kill him. And indeed, that's what Conflict goes for. Mikmer does play around it and go to Moltres on the EQ. Will-O-Wisp going to connect with the Pert, who does not seem to have a water attack. He just goes Ice Beam, which is 18%. Gets burnt in exchange for doing so. And now he's out of the way as P2 doubles in, which again has that electric attack to threaten Coon here. Actually, Bolt Beam coverage as a whole is pretty good here, given what's left for Mikmer. However, Coon is faster than the very slow Porygon 2, so he does get to wake up and rest, but it is Thunder rather than Thunderbolt. Obviously crappy accuracy, but if it connects, Man, does that do damage. 45% that does to an unboosted Coon. You can't mess around with that. And it hits Celebi on the way in, gets a para, which he then switches up, of course, to Ice Beam, aimed at the Celebi. It's going to connect with Coon instead. Thunder plus Sand here would kill him. And Mikmer this time is willing to take the risk, seemingly feeling like he doesn't have a great switch into Porygon 2, or like the accuracy could come back to bite him, but it doesn't. 70-30, Thunder connects, and there is no more Suicune, and Conflict can breathe a sigh of relief. That Mon was giving him trouble up to this point. So now, Porygon 2 gets a recover off. He also already landed Toxic on B. Leech Seed should force him out, but Porygon 2 really doing work in this game. It's one of those mons that a lot of people don't like and don't respect, but it's been solid in this game. I feel like it's often solid. I feel like P2 is quite underrated, but it's difficult to fit is one of the big things that makes it awkward. But regardless of that, we've got ourselves a close game here. 3-3. This one really, I'm still not clear who's going to win this game. P2 is awkward to switch into for Mikmer, but it's not over by any means. Mikmer absolutely, between the spike and the fact that the Celebi can largely negate the Porygon 2, can grind out Conflict in that way as well. T-Tar being poisoned certainly does not help his case. And we've got some doubling here. Swampert has not shown the last move, but the way that this has been played, it doesn't look like it would be a water attack. He had a really good opportunity earlier to use it, and he didn't. So I don't know if it's simply last move protect. Unfortunately for him, I don't think it's going to be refreshed. So I think that burn is going to be there to stay, and he's going to have to live with that for the rest of the game. Does get a recover off here in exchange for Leech Seed. This could get to a situation. We're not there quite yet, but it could get to a situation where the PP of certain moves, Leech Seed certainly among them, but that's not the only one. PP could become a factor if this game really grinds out. We'll see. There's Leech Seed again. I feel like he's used a lot of those. Celebi has been a crucial piece of the puzzle here for Mikmer. It's really been the backbone this game that's kept him around and kept him alive. Recover coming down again for P2, but again, it's suffering from that Leech Seed. T-Tar has no way to remove that Toxic either, so these status effects, this burn on the Pert, this poison on the T-Tar, they're going to be there for the rest of the game, and there's nothing they can do to get rid of those things. Porygon 2 in yet again. Hey, there's a critical hit hidden power. Opportunity for Mikmer if he gets 2 crits in a row, which is mathematically very unlikely, but if he does, he could kill the Porygon 2 there. Instead, it is just a Perish Song and a recover that's almost certainly going to make the Porygon run away. No, he's going to stay in once, and he fires off an Ice Beam for 34%, but that's going to be largely negated by the Leech Seed, and he's got to be very careful about the Perish count here. Now T-Tar comes in, as does Swampert, coming in on the spike and still suffering from that burn. Swampert can only take so much, and we're really getting low. And that's going to be the end of the day for Swampert as he's outsped and crunched down. So now Salaman's going to come in against the poison and now intimidated Tar, though the intimidate I don't think matters in this case. And it's last move Roar for the T-Tar. Hadn't shown that, presumably Pursuit, of course. So they both have counter crunch pursuit lead Tars, which is awkward, but the big differentiator is that Mikmer opted for Roar, which makes sense on the Spikes team, whereas Conflict opted for Protect, which I think is an underrated move on Tyranitar as in general. Very close, very interesting. This one really tight and going to come down to the wire. 80 turns in with only 5 Mons standing. I'm still not clear who's actually going to win this game, but man, do we have ourselves a close one. Both pokes suffering here. Leech Seed and Toxic doing what they do. Here's the Moltres switch in. And he goes for Ice Beam in this case. Playing it aggressively with the P2. I guess he's trying to go down to the DD Ments and close out the game that way. Oh yeah, we're not clicking recover anymore. It is all aggro here for Conflict. He snipes the Celebi with the Ice Beam and gets retaliation killed with Flamethrower. Ment's the only thing standing for Conflict. He believes this is going to take him there. If he can survive one attack, DD should get the job done. Will-O-Wisp makes it a little bit awkward because now he might have to refresh and the damage is relevant here as well. He goes for a refresh. He should survive a non-crit here, but Mikmer knows how to play this. He goes for Will-O-Wisp, and by doing this, he's getting him in range. And now he forces Conflict to go to Hidden Power. Mikmer plays it absolutely correctly. As it turns out, he maybe could have refreshed there one more time. It would have been a roll, but Mikmer played that absolutely correctly. He knew that he had to Will-O-Wisp because it is simultaneously damaging the Salamence and also reducing the attack, and he needs to do both at the same time to have a shot at this game. Had either of those Will-O-Wisps simply missed, it would have been done. The +1 DD Mence could have simply clicked HP Flying, and the Moltres is dead. And then the last move, whatever, either Earthquake or Brick Break, it's going to be one or the other at +1, would have killed the Tyranitar from this position, and it would have just been a Conflict win. Very close, very good game one. I hope this is indicative of what we're going to see from the rest of the series. This is definitely one of the closest and best games of the tournament so far. This one really could have gone either way, but it goes the way of Mikmer. Great game one for sure. A highlight match, a highlight game of the series. I wish I did like a top 10 games of the tournament compilation or something at the end of these. I always... Some of the early round games that are really good always get lost in the shuffle and get forgotten about, and it's a real shame because games like this absolutely belong somewhere in some kind of compilation. Anyhow, there is at least one more, if not two more games to come. Mikmer with a 1-0 lead. Here's game two. Conflict must win this game and a game 3 in order to stay in the tournament. Otherwise, he's going to be out for the second time, 0-2 in CALLOUS Invitational, and Mikmer is going to avoid the 0-2 after his solid performance last year. Can he do it, or are we going to a third game? Here's game 2. And Mikmer will again be on the bottom. Conflict will again be on the top. They both have different leads. Not T-Tower for either guy this time. Zapdos and Meta respectively, and Zapdos takes the opportunity to immediately sub up on the Meta. Seismic Toss breaks the sub, but he's going to have a one-turn and one-turn only window to crit or freeze the Dugtrio with Ice Beam here. Otherwise, it's a dead Bliss. He goes a different way. He goes for Sing, and he's going to connect. So now he Ice Beams, and Dugtrio needs to wake up right now, or this is going to go in the reverse. It's actually T-Tower switching in to what is a Seismic Toss. Mikmer is not willing to take the gamble and try to wake up. Usually, that is a pretty damn safe trap for the Dugtrio player, especially when you come in with a substitute. But Conflict swings things around with that Sing, and yeah, basically makes the trap go the other way. It still could have resulted in a win for Mikmer, but he wasn't willing to risk that he would wake up that turn. And the game may play out in a way, unfortunately, where the Dugtrio is simply used as fodder, and we never actually know whether the Dugtrio would have woken up that turn or not. Metagross does get an attack raise with Mash, and now he goes over to Hidden Power. Is that HP Grass? Was that aimed at the Swampert? I think it is. Thunderbolt and Mash now. Big Mash after the attack raise against not the world's bulkiest Zapdos, it seems, but Zapdos can certainly Thunderbolt and kill the Metagross if it stays in here, which it does not. He simply goes for BP over to the Swampert to get some much-needed lefties back. He always takes those. And there is the Surf on the Flygon for the first knockout of the game, though the Dugtrio is effectively dead unless it comes in insta-wakes. Like I said, I'm almost certain that's Hidden Power Grass. Not exciting against Jolteon, just 21%. 2 Magnetons in a row for Conflict. So thinking that Mikmer is going to Scarm up, which he did last game, but he doesn't seem to have that this time around. Though with double electric, it is very common that there is a Skarmory here, rather. I would not be surprised, actually, if that were Mikmer's last poke, but it doesn't have to be. Gyarados from Conflict. Going to get an Intimidate off and blink the Earthquake, so he comes in exactly when he would want to. And he's against a Poison poke, so that's totally what he wants to be doing. Switches it up to Mag here, thinking, hey, if you got a Scar, maybe this is the time. And likewise, if you go to Jolteon, Magneton's also a good choice. Yeah, hey, maybe we'll get to see if the Dugtrio wakes up. Nope, Mikmer doesn't go for it again. And Magneton goes for Hidden Power for lack of anything better to do, but Hidden Power anything would kill the Dugtrio there from 1%. Whether it's Fire, Ice, Grass, doesn't matter. Any of it would have done the job, but Mikmer not willing to risk the Dugtrio yet again. Mikmer expands his lead, and Gyarados does go for Dragon Dance. Ice Beam comes down, doesn't get the cheesy freeze. And now a second DD. Gyarados could be a real threat here. And freeze doesn't come down yet again. Gyara could be big. Now Dougie comes down. Gyarados doesn't go for the third DD, which as it turns out would have been monstrous here, but he had no way of knowing Dugtrio was coming in on that turn. Now it's Cheetar coming in. Mikmer trying to dance around this Gyarados doesn't really have a better answer than to just slowly but surely get it down. Earthquake kills Cheetar, so we've got ourselves a tie. Swampert comes in, has been slowly leftying his way up. Now he's at 77%. Hidden Power 49%. Ice Beam again, no crit, no freeze. So Gyarados still a big threat here. Now Zapdos, gone. Gyarados a real issue for Mikmer. He's fucking working on it here, but Gyarados killed 3 pokes. And hey, little more damage on the way out, and by killing himself with Double Edge, he makes it so the Coon can't get a Calm Mind or a Rest Off either. There's Surf on the last poke Cheetar, and Rock Slide. Neither one kills, but the Sand finishes off Coon, leaves Mikmer with only 2 Pokemon. Blissey coming into Jolteon. There's a T-Bolt, totally safe here for anything other than a crit. And he doesn't go for it. Here's Swampert and Soft-Boiled respectively. This game looks good for Conflict. It's likely that we're going to a Game 3 here. Cheetar comes into Swampert and gets EQ'd down, sure. Leaves us in a 2-2 situation. Metagross we know has HP Grass. Jolteon in, eats that HP Grass for lack of something better to do. Don't know how well he's going to take a Meteor Mash here. Going to pray that between Thunder Wave Para or Meteor Mash Imperfect Accuracy, one of them never hits him. Back to Bliss. And BP, of course, to Swampert. Blissey has shown its full set. S-Toss Sing, Ice Beam, Soft Boiled here. And does go for the Sing. That's a little bit greedy. I think you're supposed to click Soft Boiled there. Oh no. And that's why. And that's why. Man. Oh, man. I think Conflict threw. I think Conflict should have had this game. And there's the T-Bolt. Okay, so Mikmer wins 2-0. We're going to go over that in a minute, but I think Conflict, I don't know if he was nervous or I think he threw this late game pretty bad. I don't understand this turn right here. I don't get why you don't soft boiled. I think that's all the difference here. 77% you just go for soft here. And I think you're in pretty good shape because the earthquakes just aren't doing enough. But as it turns out, so we saw that it did 37% and then the follow-up did 40%. I don't get why you don't soft boil there. I think that push comes to shove, the Blissey can stall out the Swampert, and then once the earthquakes are gone, I mean, I guess he was nervous about Focus Punch, I guess was the big thing here, as the reason why he didn't soft boiled. But it just set him up for exactly what happened. So, I mean, I don't know if Conflict blatantly threw. You could argue that Mikmer just outplayed him. Watching it at the time, I mean, we went through it pretty quickly, and this is my first time seeing this game, but watching it at the time, it felt like Conflict didn't play it correctly. Something about it didn't feel right, just as like, hey, if you were my teammate and I were watching this, it'd be like, feels like there's something you could have done better. The late game as a whole, it wasn't just this part. The stuff leading up to this as well. The late game, I think, as a whole, could have been a little cleaner for Conflict. I guess that last thing with the Pert and the Bliss was a little bit more mind gamey and coin flippy than it initially appeared, but I really think that Conflict very often wins this game, like especially when we were down to like 3-2, for example. Conflict felt pretty far ahead. And likewise, he also, with the meta on the Jolteon, there's some RNG there as well because he had to get the T-Wave off, and then Meteor Mash may or may not kill the Jolteon through the T-Wave, which of course we know it never did. I feel bad for Conflict. He's going to be out 0-2 again, but that really, truly is not indicative of how close his games were and how well he played. That's why people shouldn't focus so hard on results in this community. Conflict's performance in this tour is a perfect example. His round 1 set against Johnny G2 easily could have gone the other way. It was so damn close. Game 1, Conflict won. Games 2 and 3 were both close. If you remember that memorable Game 3, that was the Quagsire game. That clearly could have gone either way, and it very nearly did go the other way. And likewise, this Game 1 was extremely close. It came down to 2 Will-O-Wisps in a row for Mikmer or a damage roll on Flamethrower. If Flamethrower does 1% less there, if one of the 2 Will-O-Wisp misses, this could be a different game. This game, this end game, easily could have gone a different way if Conflict had made different predictions, or if he hadn't gotten fully paralyzed with the meta, which could have just boomed there potentially. There's a lot of shoulda, woulda, coulda. Conflict could easily have won both of these sets, and instead of 0-2, be 2-0 right now. I know how this is going to go. He holds himself to high standards. He's going to PM me, dude, I'm sorry, I feel bad, I suck, whatever. There was absolutely no need for that. I think Conflict played really well, deserved to be in the main event, and easily could have won either or both of these sets. But like I said, records do not tell the whole story, and unfortunately, he is going to be out with an 0-2 this year. Mikmer is going to avoid going 0-2 after his good performance last year. We'll see how long he can keep it going. The lower bracket is really tough, but for now, Mikmer lives to fight another day. If you guys have enjoyed watching this video, and in general, if you've enjoyed the tournament so far, please do leave a like on the video. Please consider subscribing to my channel here, my humble little channel with not a lot of subscribers. And of course, if you want to donate to the tournament, we are accepting those. I would love to cross the 2K mark as we did last year. We're in the high 17s, so I think we can do it. But you're going to have to join the Discord and hit me up if you want to do that. All right, my outros are too long, I know. Appreciate you guys watching. I will see you in the next video.